y'all, and welcome to another exciting episode of Down Home Dirt, the show where we dive deep into the journey of entrepreneurship with those who took the plunge and all the ups and downs that come with it. I'm your host, Dusta, and today we are joined with Dr. Kiki Wynns with Wynns Family Psychology. And we're going to get into why she's called Dr. Kiki today.
That's right.
So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here, and it's fun to already be laughing just with the introduction.
We got to start off on the right foot, right?
That's right. That's
exactly.
Right.
So tell us where we're actually at today.
Okay, we are in my Cary location for my private practice, Wynns Family Psychology. So we have this location, and then we're in Raleigh and Greensboro as well, and then opening up a new location in Fuquay in February of 2025.
That's amazing. That's a far reach. I love that.
Yeah.
That's like 2 hours away to Greensboro, right?
It's not that far. It's a little bit over an hour. It always feels further.
I'm thinking Winston-Salem.
Yeah.
I get those two confused. I know they're like right next to each other, kind of.
Yes, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, they're like neighbors. It's fine. So we wanted to come out here so that you could see this wonderful room, and she has it decorated. The lights are normally low, but today we had to turn them up. It's a very family-friendly place to come and get some help, some therapy. That's something that we talk about on the podcast, is having a good therapist when you decide to become an entrepreneur. It's very helpful because your therapist can only go so far.
That's right.
Which we talked about that before we recorded. How they're a great start, but you might need someone a little more professional. So thank you so much. So let's start off with you telling us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from and how'd you end up in the Triangle?
Okay, I grew up in Kentucky, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so got bluegrass running through my veins, and maybe some bourbon, too. So our family moved to North Carolina when we were 15. I have a twin sister, so I speak in we's. So my twin and I were 15, moved to sort of rural North Carolina in Harnett County, and then moved to the Triangle about 12 years ago when I needed to be closer to my private practice, and we wanted our girls to sort of have some of the perks of big city life of Cary, North Carolina.
No, I get that 100% because I actually started out when I moved here. I moved from Asheville, and then I went to Cary, then I went to Garner, and now I'm in Clayton. And I kind of want to go back.
Yes.
Because I love the big city. I'm from a big city in Sarasota, so Florida.
I mean, Cary has a grocery store on every corner, and now sometimes being inserted between the two corners. So we've got the grocery stores, the parks, the Target, the movie theaters, the restaurants. We got everything.
I love it. When I first moved to Cary, it was back in 2014, and so we were just getting the Publix and just getting everything.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I love how it's exploded since then.
It's amazing.
It's a great town.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how you got into being in psychology.
Okay, so I am an unusual, rare bird. I hear that I took a psychology class in high school, loved it, and said, I'm going to major in psychology and become a psychologist, and then I actually just stuck with that plan that I developed as a teenager. So I've always been passionate about psychology, and in particular my practice specializes in kids and teens, so I've always had a heart for young people. And a part of my story is just recognizing in hindsight that I could have benefited from a great child psychologist when I was a kid, but back then it just wasn't as available. So it feels like a higher calling the older I get, to realize I've been able to build a practice to help young people and families with their mental health and really be able to offer something that is so meaningful and so important. So it's been a really fun ride, but I started my practice 17 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Amazingly, just a little part-time office in Durham, shared an office and furniture with somebody else, and then I just got too busy, so I had to hire somebody, and then had to hire someone else, and then over time, I've just been so blessed to attract a team of other therapists and psychologists who share the same passion for helping young people. And now I've got this amazing team across the different locations, and we're doing all the therapy, all the testing, all the parent coaching, all the family work that you can think of. We're able to offer that, and especially fortunate that we're able to get people in right away, because we've heard sometimes there's wait lists to get into certain places, but we try to stay ahead of the hiring curve, so we're really excited when people call up that we're able to say we can get you in right away as long as you'll do all that horrible long paperwork.
I was going to say, the intake is probably
Yeah.
the longest process of it.
That's right. That's right.
That's fabulous. I love that because as a person who sees a therapist myself, sometimes it's like, man, I can't see you for a good 6 weeks. Like that, I don't know what's going to happen until then.
That's right.
And so that's great that you can get them in. So who
Yes.
would be like your ideal client, just moving forward? Like,
Yeah, good question. So really on the therapy front, we really do see little ones and up. So, and all the common issues. So if kids or teens or their parents are struggling with anxiety or depression or ADHD or autism or just relationship problems or behavior problems, we're really able to help out. Because we specialize in kids, we have all the fun toys and games and art supplies. I've had kids as young as 2.5, 3 come in for services. Oftentimes that's because of a divorcing family. That's one of our primary specialties is high conflict divorce custody. What most of my colleagues in other practices run fast from. We have a heart for that, so we actually specialize in a lot of court related services like that. So we'll start them little with therapy, and then for testing, same thing. We're able to test for ADHD, autism, learning disabilities, gifted, and then on the psychological side, if someone's just trying to figure out their diagnosis so they can get better, more refined therapy or medication options, we're able to help out there. And then one of my passions is parenting. So I have my parenting book, the No Wimpy Parenting Handbook, that I'm very proud of, that I put out after hearing parents come in my office time after time talking about how their kids won't listen. The kids are running the show. Discipline never sticks. They always forget to follow through with their consequences. And then as a parent myself, I was having the same struggles at home with my kids. Like, my gosh, why is this so hard? Why do I have to ask them 1,000 times to do something? So my book and related parent coaching came out of that mission to just empower parents, give them easy tools and strategies so they can feel more competent and confident at home and less stressed and frustrated.
I know that I could benefit from that, so where can I find the book?
I will give you a signed copy before you leave today. And when, it's just around the corner, when I become very, very famous, that book is going to be so valuable. You can sell it on eBay and then retire immediately to your private island.
She knows me too well, and we just met. I honestly am excited. I want to be rich and famous by the time I'm 40, so.
Hey, let's go.
You got a year.
Okay.
So we'll have to have you come back on in a year too, because I really want to dive into this comedy thing that
Yes.
you're doing. We met on Networking Women of the Triangle.
Right.
It's a beautiful group full of women just supporting women on Facebook. And you were mentioning about your comedy, and I was like, I need to interview you.
Yes.
So she invited me to a show at Goodnight's Comedy Club. It was amazing. I had the best time. So let's talk about your comedy journey.
Okay. Yes, so my comedy career came out of taking my own advice post-COVID. So when COVID hit, most of the world ended up pretty stressed and anxious and overwhelmed. So I was no different. The summer after COVID, so 2021, I was very stressed with worrying about keeping my private practice afloat, knowing I had many people's income depending on pivoting and figuring out how we were going to do virtual everything. So I was worried about my practice, my business. I was worried about my kids trapped in the house with me. And teenage years, like pivotal teenage years of freshman, our little one was like 8th grade, 9th grade, and the older one was junior, senior year. So worried about them, worried about my marriage. So I took a comedy class that summer saying, I've been doing all these webinars, all these podcast interviews on self-care. Do something just for yourself that's creative, an outlet. So I took a comedy class and I fell in love with it. I loved it. That was an improv class, which is more like the whose line is it anyway kind of
It sounds like
team.
fun.
Yeah, team. I loved it. But then that sort of had me drift into stand-up because I love being able to write. Like my book, I love to write my material and just do a whole set that's just my material. So I had kind of what I call my Cinderella story, where the summer after that I did my first open mic on a dare in a comedy club in Cary/Raleigh Improv, where my best friend dared me to do an open mic, which is hands down the most terrifying thing I have done in my life. And I'm an adrenaline junkie. where I love the parasailing and zip lining and shark diving. I love all that, but being behind that stage for that open mic, knowing I had a 4-minute set in front of people, and it's do or die. Either they're laughing or they're staring at you for 4 minutes, but it went very well. And after just 3 open mics, I was booked for a paid comedy show, and I was like, what? Is
That's
this normal
amazing.
to have 3 open mics? And then they booked me, and then from there, I caught the attention of a nationally known comedian who had me open for him in Charlotte and Atlanta and Raleigh. And then it was kind of just off and running from
Can you tell us
then.
who it was?
Yeah, it was Craig Shoemaker, which he used to be a big deal around here and nationally. He's the Love Master. He does a whole famous thing on the Love Master, and he has a Netflix special. He's still great. He still tours all around, but he used to be like in his heyday one of the top ones. So it was such an honor to open for him in these top comedy clubs. And then this more recent success that you got to come to one of my shows is I developed a passion for elevating the comedy scene for women, because just like in business and just like in a lot of other things, we're still underrepresented. So this statistic I share is, I think it's 27% of stand-up comedians are women, which is just
Really?
crazy. Yeah, so we're just a quarter represented. So I wanted to have a showcase, have a show that was just for the ladies to show off how talented and funny we are. So that debuted in August of this year. It sold out the room in 2 weeks of being posted on their website. It sold out. So then that led to the bigger show that you came to in their main room, which nearly packed the main room. So it's called Ladies Laugh Lounge. And it's for women to come to, like, the best ladies' night out of your life. Bring all your ladies, come see ladies, and just like get the scene with some attention for. So I have another show in February for Galentine's Day. That'll be the next Ladies Laugh Lounge, February 13th. That's again, bring out all your besties, your sisters, your daughters, whoever. Bring out all the ladies. Wear your pink and red and come celebrate hilarious women.
I'm excited about that, honestly. Hold on one second. Do you need a drink?
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
It like just came out of nowhere, and I'm like, I'm so sorry.
I don't know if we were supposed to ignore her or pause.
If I start just coughing like that, just please pause. I'm so sorry, because you can hear it.
Oh, good, you have your water there.
And I have editing software, so I can edit.
I was wondering if the part where she was all the way over there, if you'd be able to edit that out, surely. Like the quieter ones.
Yeah. We'll see.
Although our faces probably look like
We're like dying secretly.
yeah.
Okay.
I usually get those when I drink a sip of water. Like I have it go down the wrong pipe, and then I'm like choking to death from one sip of water.
I don't know. I have a throat itch. I don't know what's going on. This has not happened all day. I'm so sorry.
No, this
Okay.
is new.
I think I'm good. It won't happen again.
We're not going to hold you to
Do
it.
you want to practice taking a deep breath just in case?
Can you breathe?
Yes. Okay. I also had pneumonia like a
2
couple
months ago.
Yeah, so
Good
my lungs are still
grief.
like, he's like, yeah, it's gonna linger for a while, and so I'm like, still,
Oh,
so sorry,
the
that's my bad.
worst. Poor thing.
Okay. And I'm good.
Alright, and we'll edit that out. No
Yep.
big deal.
Yeah, if you want me to say any of that.
And we got about
I can.
15 more minutes, and then we'll take a pause.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the Galentine's Day. So you started this, you said back in August. And can you talk about the ladies that are doing this with you, who are part of it?
Sure. So part of it is I want to have as many different women highlighted as possible. So each show I tried to get a new lineup and maybe keep one or two from a previous show. So you've got some familiar faces and then some new faces. And the bigger dream is to go beyond the triangle. So we just took the travel edition of Ladies Laugh Lounge to Jacksonville, North Carolina.
Oh,
this
wow.
past weekend. That was a long drive. And then we've taken the show to a vineyard in Gibsonville, North Carolina. So the bigger dream is to find comedy clubs around the country. I just talked to somebody in New Jersey this morning about bringing Ladies Laugh Lounge there. So the idea would be find local women who live in whatever city and recruit them to be in the show, and then I would come with myself and maybe somebody else from the triangle to be in the show. But it's really sort of a cool community effort too, where they get to use their community connections to say, hey, Ladies Laugh Lounge is here, and then I'm coming from North Carolina to bring the original vibe and spirit of the show. So hopefully all around the country. But yeah, it's just meant to keep it fresh, keep the lineup changing. So the Galentine show will have new faces, and then myself and one other lady from the last show that you came to. So it's you can be a fan forever and come to every show and always get different content, but then still have that same celebratory feel like you experience. We like to have the pro girl power playlist pumping as women are waiting around. We have giveaways. We throw things into the crowd. We dress up. It's really just meant to be a true celebration of women and everything that we stand for, because we do have sort of a different spirit than guys, and some would say that we have a little bit more like feisty, just strong, like relentless. We will just not break. We'll just keep going. Even with talking about being sick, like we just keep pushing ourselves. If we're a little bit sick, who cares? We still go to work, we get it done, and that's just why we're awesome.
Exactly. That's why I wanted to do season 2 that was based on women's stories, because I feel like not only do we have more interesting stories, things happen to us differently, and we also still persevere through the ups and downs.
That's right. That's right. And I love that spirit in women. And I also love women supporting women, because quite frankly, sometimes it's disappointing to see how we get in each other's way, and sometimes women can get competitive and petty and snarky, and that's just really disappointing, because we have so much power when we work together for supporting each other. And I don't know if you know about the scarcity mindset and the abundance mindset, but that is really on my mind lately with how that relates to women in general. We can have that abundance mindset and say there's enough success and opportunities for all of us. And in fact, if we support each other, we can probably get more success and opportunities if we're working together.
No, I agree. That's actually something that I realized when I started my journey in entrepreneurship, is that there are certain women that are under the scarcity mindset.
Yes.
And I don't believe that, I never have. My whole thing is that I'm not going to gatekeep any information from you.
Yes.
And there's plenty of work for everyone.
Yes.
And I don't feel like I need to be like, it's all mine. Because first of all, I don't want to service I own a cleaning company. We're not doing it all.
That's right.
You know, and if I'm not a good fit for you and someone else is, like, that's okay. And I feel like that needs to be a good fit for both of us for us to work together.
100%. And that's actually even a part of my mindset for choosing my first lineup for my first Ladies Laugh Lounge. I think perhaps having this opportunity at a top comedy club, some people may have thought, okay, let me think of the most famous comedians I know and book them. But my mind went to my very first show. I had women who had supported me and put me in their comedy shows when I was a newbie and just starting out. So I like the idea of pay it forward. And if somebody has shown a kindness to me, then I would like to show a kindness to them, and also just keep paying it forward. It's so much better when we're all nice to each other, you know?
I agree 100%, and that's why I'm very much on that. And anytime somebody comes to me for advice or whatever, I'm like, yeah, here you go. And that's why I started this podcast, was to be able to say, hey, there's no gatekeeping. If you need resources, if you need information, here it is. And definitely want to support women in their journeys, because I feel like also too it is sometimes feels like a man's world out in business.
Yes.
And it's hard, and that's another reason I want to showcase your story, is I want to talk about some of the ups and downs that you've had transitioning from this to comedy. Can we talk about some of those?
Sure. And now you're stumbling into another one of my favorite topics. I always say this sounds weird, but I love to talk about my failures because it's such a part of the foundation upon which I have created my success. Even my private practice came out of what some could see as a failure, where I was working at another group practice. I was happy. I had a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old. We had just bought our first family car, and it was contract renewal time. And in the private practice world, you kind of go year by year, and you say, or at least with the setup of many of them. So you just have a contract. You say, I'm going to work here for a year. Then you revisit it. Are we both still happy? Yes. So for this particular year, I was doing great. I was crushing it, or so I thought. And then I was told that the practice owner wasn't renewing my contract.
Oh.
And I was devastated. Wasn't expecting it. I would have happily worked there for a while longer. Like I said, I had some little children,
Yeah.
brand new car payment. So I took a few days to be upset, be mad, cry, and then I thought, well, I guess I'm just going to start my own practice and see how that goes. So Wynns Family Psychology was born 3 weeks after that, and here we are now, 17 years later. We win. The last few years, we've won the local awards and magazines for top mental health practice in the Triangle. So, you know, that came out of what some could say was a failure, but now through taking that and pivoting and turning it into growth, here I sit in my practice, one of 4 locations,
Yeah.
with winning awards for top practice. So it's really cool. And same thing, I mean, even with anything, with my physical stuff, like I'm an athlete from college and in high school. My body doesn't feel the same as it did back then, but even with the physical maladies we face, you know, we have the knee pain and whatever, and I'm a big believer when you have those setbacks and you question, well, can I take one more step forward? Literally sometimes, like in my racing days, and you just have to have that mindset to say, okay, well, I'm going to grit my teeth and maybe have some tears leaking out as I go. But you got to just move forward. So comedy is no different. Comedy, for it being such a happy, fun seeming world, there's still the dark side. I found, just like any other business, there's some of what we talked about with the women and just with the old boys network and with feeling kind of left out. And I'm in my early shows, even open mics, and all the guys would stand around outside smoking and talking and laughing, and I might be one of a few women and nobody's talking to me, and I feel so self-conscious and think like, what am I doing here? Or, you know, we've all had that set that we feel good about, and the joke that's landed at the last place a week ago, you say it and it's crickets chirping, and it's not a fun feeling, you know, to deliver a joke and not have people laugh. But I just find those experiences are so character building. I mean, you either get through it and you say, whew, well, that taught me not to be too full of myself, I need to keep working that, or you give up. But obviously we're talking about how I'm a fan of the mindset of we take those, we do the work, and you come out on the other side hopefully tougher and stronger and better.
No, absolutely. And I always say on the podcast that failure is the door to success.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of things that you think is a failure, but honestly, it's just a redirection. And I learned that through therapy, that don't think that everything is a problem and that you need to fix it. Sometimes it just needs to go pivot.
That's right.
And so, like, learning when to pivot. Jeez, I can't talk. Pivot is like the best. Do we need to take a break?
We can.
Okay.
And go.
So what are some of the ways that you have made water into wine from some of your apparent failures in life or in comedy?
Thank you for the Bible reference. I always appreciate that when I can pretend to be anywhere close to Jesus. I know I'm not, but thank you for that setup. Yeah, well, I forgot to mention, even getting into this career, or the education part of my career, came out of a failure story where after college I am very high achieving, so I like to just aim for the stars. So I applied to all these grad school programs, and I really wanted to go to a PhD program in clinical psychology, so just set myself up to aim for the most competitive, and then I didn't get in. So, or I didn't get into any of those type programs. I got into master's programs. So I decided to just take the year off and just work my butt off getting more experience, working on my GRE, the crazy test you have to take to get into grad school. So at the time, I was quite disappointed. But then I worked. I applied to the same program at UNC Greensboro, second year in a row, and I got in, yay! And then towards the end of grad school, we applied to internships, kind of like medical doctors do, where you apply all over the country.
Oh, wow.
Sort of like med students do residency, so ours is called internship. You apply all over the country. Then there's a really scary match day where you find out where you've matched and where you're going to live the next year to finish up your degree. So I applied all over the country, but when I applied to a certain location in Michigan, I despised it because I am a warm-blooded lady. We were talking about being cold today.
Yes, it's a little too cold in North Carolina for
Yes. So Michigan was awful. Like I interviewed there in winter, and in the airport, I said to my mom, who went along with me for the interview, I will never set foot in this state again. And then, of course, match day came, and that's where I matched, was at the internship in Michigan. So I do think God has a sense of humor. And he's like, oh, what did you say again? You're never coming back? Boom, that's where you match. But it's such a great example of what seemed devastating at the time, where I really wanted to stay in North Carolina, and UNC would have been fine, any of those places, but matched in Michigan. It was one of the best years of my life, where it was just my husband and I, freezing, cozy in our little apartment in Michigan. That's where we got pregnant with our oldest daughter, who was born in Michigan. It was an amazing experience. Wouldn't trade it for anything. So again, it's just good examples of, sure, I mean, there are sometimes hardcore failures that will knock the breath out of you that you just can't come back from. But typically, I like your use of the word pivot, even though it's a mouthful. Usually in hindsight, you can see how that was just simply the next door opening for the next chapter in your life, especially if you keep that kind of mindset where you're just looking for growth opportunities.
I think sometimes me as a person, and it's probably ADHD, but I'll be like, cool, that didn't work, what's next? And not have follow through, and so that's kind of a little bit hard for me, personally.
Yes.
And I know that when I go speak to my therapist, and I'm like, I don't want to follow through, and they're like, but don't you think you should try? So how do you decide whether or not you should try and follow through with something?
It's a good question because, yeah, the ADHD brain, which I'm also familiar with, not just clinically, but I'm very familiar with the ADHD brain. It is hard because there are so many exciting things I want to do, and I have many balls in the air all at once. But something I am personally working on too is, when do you follow through with it, and when should you actually say that 2-letter word that is very hard for us women? We have such a hard time saying no, even especially no to what's a fun opportunity. But that is sort of my mission towards the end of this year, probably going into a theme for next year. I'm really trying to be more strict with myself for opportunities, even if it's fun, even if it would be good money or good for my career. Is it really making my heart and soul sing yes, yes, yes? And if not, we have to practice the art of saying no, because then we have the energy and the mental stamina to follow through and see through those opportunities that we really need to be focusing on. So I wish I could say I had it all figured out, but I think it is, before you know what you need to follow through, you also need to know what are your current priorities for your life right now, and make sure that your yeses are all in support of that current dream and mission, and follow that until it changes, and then it's okay to follow through on another dream later down the road.
Maybe sometimes put that in your pocket for later. That's what I've learned. I'm like, I want to do this, but maybe like not today. That's been like my whole life, and so here we are.
Yes.
We're semi-successful in life, and I say semi because I am successful in areas, but sometimes I feel like I'm not. So maybe that's just a me thing. But I know other people deal with it too.
I really like the metaphor. I'm a big metaphor person, so I like.
Me too.
I love metaphors, so I like the idea of just having it in your pocket, or I do the shelf metaphor a lot.
What's that?
Where you just say, okay, you got your top shelf. You may never get to those. Like, there may just be too unrealistic. Then you have your little mid-tier shelf. So for that pocket idea, maybe we just put that on the medium shelf for now. So that's going to come maybe next year. And then you have your things right here front and center on your shelf that you're taking out daily. For example, my private practice, Right now, I have to be getting ready to open our 4th location. So all those things are on the shelf right here. Open up the new location and just kind of have a sense in your mind of which shelf you're going to put it on. And then you kind of have that peace of mind if you're like me, where you're worried that you're going to forget about it or you won't come back to it. You know, they're all nicely there. You can look at them and say, oh yeah, I see you up there, but not right now. I'm focusing on these for now.
Yes, so that's why I think it's important to make sure that when you're making moves in your life in general, not just entrepreneurship, that you have someone there in your corner telling you not what to prioritize, but how to.
Exactly. And on the note of saying no, if you're a metaphor person, this one I learned a few weeks ago, and I've used it 10 times already. Have you heard about keeping margins in your life, just like in a book? I love this. I was meeting with actually my pastor's wife, who's a very wise spiritual woman, telling her how I was overwhelmed with all the things I had in my life. And she was saying, it's like a page in a book. There's a reason there's a margin around all 4 sides. If the words just bled to the edges of the page, it would be overwhelming to read. It would be distracting. We couldn't make sense of it. So we, especially women, we have to have that margin around our life. We have to have space for breathing and relaxing and being in the here and now and being mindful. If we're just bleeding over the pages, then we're going to feel overwhelmed and messy and distracted. So I love that margins, and I have tried to keep that front and center as a nice visual for my goals for myself ever since I learned it.
No, I like that. Now I'm learning it, so I can do that, because that's me. I tend to bleed over and get overwhelmed, and we're going to do all the things at once, and then we're going to do nothing because we can't focus.
That's right.
So that's okay. So they're there for a reason. I need to constantly remind myself it's there for a reason.
That's right. Yes.
That's fabulous. So do you have any advice for anyone who is maybe feeling overwhelmed? Breathing techniques. We've talked about that in the podcast before. Making sure that you learn how to breathe, because I didn't realize this, but I was breathing wrong.
Most people are breathing wrong.
Yeah.
This is the number one thing I teach a client who's struggling with any kind of anxiety or stress. And I'm talking about even 6-year-old kids. I teach them the right way to breathe, because most people, especially if you're stressed, you're breathing from your chest up here, shallow breaths, like. And most people don't realize it needs to be from your diaphragm. So when I'm teaching kids, I literally have them put their hand on their tummy and teach them to breathe in. You puff up your stomach and blow it out like a beach ball. And then when you breathe out, you should be sucking your belly button to your spine. So it's the opposite of what most of us think. So you're breathing in, puffing out your diaphragm. But I also love square breathing. Have you seen that? On YouTube, they have the best videos for square breathing. It's great. If you do it a few rounds, you immediately feel this happy, relaxed feeling in your brain, where it's essentially, if you visualize the square, you hold your breath for a few seconds going up the square. I'm sorry, you inhale, going up the square, you hold it a few seconds, then you exhale, and then you hold your breath a few seconds. So you're basically inhale, hold, exhale, hold, and you're just going around a square is your visual for 4 seconds or so. But if you do that a few times, you feel amazing. And if you look it up on YouTube, there's amazing videos where they just walk you through it. But breathing is so important. And I also do a lot of preaching about exercising and getting outside in nature, because most people are not getting enough of the sunshine and the trees. And there is an overwhelming amount of research showing how helpful that is for our mental health. So just getting your daily dose of sunshine, getting out there in the trees, that right away is going to reset your mental health too. So breathing, nature, sun, all that's not even coming in my office. But of course, if you need therapy, then that's a great complement to some of those healthy habits.
No, absolutely. And remember the margins, guys.
Yes.
So
that's right. Oh, the margins kind of goes with the square breathing too.
Yeah.
We have this.
So we're leaving room for everything. Okay.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
This is great. I love learning, and I love being able to share that with other people.
Yeah.
So I think we have a few more minutes left. Is that correct? All right. So if you want to tell everybody where they can find you and about your show coming up.
Okay. So I am, for my private practice, our website is a great way to get in touch. It's wynnspsychology.com. WYNNS, wynnspsychology.com. We're also on Facebook, and we do a ton of posting on our Wynn's Family Psychology Facebook. not promoting services, but just cute little mental health tips like what we've talked about today. So follow us on Facebook. Then on the comedy side, my Instagram is the main place I put out comedy information. It's Kiki's Comedy Club, Kikis, Kiki's Comedy Club on Instagram. I also have a brand new comedy website, kikiscomedyclub.com.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, you can check that out. Thank goodness for 18-year-old children who helped me put it together. My daughter helped me put that together, so kikiscomedyclub.com. And my next Ladies Laugh Lounge show is at Goodnight's Comedy Club on February 13th. The ticket link is already on Goodnight's website or on my website or on my Instagram. So I would love to get a big turnout of all the ladies who live anywhere close to the Triangle to come out and check out that show.
I'm really excited. So I don't have a Valentine's Day date, so I'm gonna come join and get my laugh on.
Yes, bring all your
Bring
your
all
lady
the ladies.
friends. Yeah.
So hey, it's the first year I don't have a date, so I'm like, cool, I'm free to go laugh.
There you go. Well, hey, even if you get a date by then, that'll be on Valentine's Day, the 14th. So the 13th, that's all about friendship and women. So go out on that day with your ladies.
I love it. And you called it the Galentine's, is that correct?
Yes. Do you know that that's an actual holiday?
I did not.
Oh, yeah. So Galentine's Day is February 13th. It's a holiday that came because not everybody wants to have a date with a man for Valentine's Day.
Like I said that. Oh man.
So Valentine's Day is literally a holiday to celebrate women's friendship. So it's the day before Valentine's when you're supposed to get together with your ladies and go out, drink some wine, cheers to women. So yeah, it's actually a holiday, and that's why my show is a Galentine's.
So
They get it, Galentine's.
Love it. You guys have to go check her out.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having us come out and do this today. I am really excited about it. And thank you guys for watching. And we'll see you next week. Don't forget to subscribe.